Hello, Christ is risen. This is Father Michael Nasser coming to you from St. Nicholas Orthodox Church here in Grand Rapids, Michigan for this week's Midweek Reflection. And this week I'm reflecting on Orthodoxy in the news. So we made it in the news a couple ways this week. One is that, of course, we have the ongoing war in Ukraine, between Russia and Ukraine, and all the things being said about the Orthodox Church and the Patriarch of Moscow and all of that. And then, of course, you have with the leaked document from the Supreme Court, the abortion battle has been brewing. The Catholic Church gets a lot of that brunt, but we're getting some of our own because of our opposition to abortion. And really anybody who's against abortion is going to be getting a really bad time from many in the media and many around society. So I want to talk about what happens when people say bad things about us. It could be about us as a church, as is happening right now, or it could be about us as people. Part of what we think about when we are attacked or blamed or slandered, part of what we think we're supposed to do is support the truth and correct untruth and injustice. And there are times that we do that, especially for others. However, for Christians, I really think we are called to be people of the cross. Think about it. Christ's cross was not just. He was unjustly accused and unjustly tortured and murdered. And you can't take that out of Christ's crucifixion. You just can't. It's actually at the heart of the Christian message, the fact that Christ was the only just one, and yet he was treated as the most unjust, in the most unjust way. So what does that say for us as Christians? Well, I think one thing it says is that we have to be people of the cross, meaning we are going to endure lots of things unjustly that are done to us, but we endure them with patience, we endure them with love, even love for our enemies. That's the Christian way. Is it easy? Absolutely not. And yet, I think it's important that we understand that, especially as we, not only personally, but now perhaps as a church, have all kinds of bad things said about us. It doesn't mean that when asked, we don't, if people ask us our opinion or how we see things, that we don't share our perspective. We can do that. But that's when it's asked. Other than that, I really think we have to think about that we bear whatever comes to us, no matter how unjust it is, with patience, with love, and with mercy. That's, honestly, in my opinion, that's what I think will get people's attention. We think we might have all the great arguments in the world, and we can correct misunderstandings, and there's times for that. But if you think about it, throughout Christian history, the Christians didn't spend much time doing that. When they're being accused of being cannibals, because in the Roman Empire, people were talking about these gatherings, this illegal gathering, this new Christian sect, where people are eating somebody's flesh. Well, that was untrue, and it was unjust. But the Christians didn't say, well, our job is to correct everybody, and we're going to get rid of all this disinformation and misinformation. They humbly lived their lives lovingly and mercifully and gracefully, and they didn't spend their time defending themselves, because if they did, that's all they'd end up doing. They said to themselves, we have work to do. We have a world to love. We have a God to love. And if we spend our time defending ourselves and correcting all the misinformation, that's all we end up doing. So I just want to say that as we personally and perhaps as a church are going to be accused of lots of things, and some of them might be true, but most of them are going to be unjust probably, that we really think twice about what our job is in terms of correcting all that versus bearing it humbly and accepting lots of misinformation, things that are said about us. And they're being said, let's be honest, from people who don't want to be corrected. If they're asking for correction, sure, we give them good information. Most of them, they don't want that. They want to accuse, they want to slander. And if all we do is defend, we look like that we have the same values and the same worldview as them. We don't. We live in the risen Lord. We are still celebrating the glorious resurrection of Christ. And in his resurrection, we have nothing to worry about. We have nothing to fear, even death itself. So what's our job? To live that, to love and appreciate what he's done for us, to share that good news, and not to spend our time defending ourselves. We might get to the point where so many of our heroes have come to, or even being killed for the faith. As hard as that might be, if that's what we're being called to, then we do it. We don't argue and say, no, you don't understand, and it's not right. We take it bravely, courageously, lovingly, trusting in our God who has conquered death to take care of us, even if death is the threat. So whether death is a threat or just slander or misinformation, whatever it is, I hope we all think about what it means to bear those as Christians, as people of the cross, to bear our cross of shame, even if it's unjust and untrue, but to bear it lovingly and be a witness to the Christ who bore his own suffering and even his own death lovingly, not defending himself, but doing it all out of obedience to his Father and for the salvation of the world. And we can do the same thing when we follow his way. I hope you found this helpful. I know it's a challenging word, but I think it's a true word. So please share it as you think via social media. And God willing, we'll see you in next week's video. Christ is risen.